What is going on, my friends? Hank here from Sprues and Brews Scale Modeling, and in this video we're going to learn how to paint up mid-war German infantry uniforms. I know figure painting can sometimes be an intimidating prospect, so in this tutorial we're going to clearly break down all the steps and paints used to make yourself high-quality, realistic figures to accompany your scale model builds. If that sounds good to you, let's hop right into it. Now, if you're a long-time subscriber, you might recognize some of this older footage. I've remastered some content from one of my most popular videos to bring you guys a concise, updated version that'll save you time and get you ready to rock and roll on your own projects ASAP. Before we start painting, we're going to want to make a scratch-built strap for his MP40. This is super easy to do. We're just going to take a little Tamiya masking tape and cut a very thin strip to length. I always like to add straps because they don't take much effort at all, and they add a ton of detail to your finished work. If the masking tape doesn't stay in place by itself, you can use a couple tiny dots of super glue to secure the bonds. With that done, we can temporarily mount our figure on a little DIY painting jig. This is just a piece of scrap wood with a drywall screw. You can use super glue to secure the figure, and it's really easy to break that bond when all of your painting work is complete. Our first step will be to prime the figure with a coat of Vallejo black primer. This will give us a nice base coat to work with. To start our uniform painting, we're going to break out some Ammo MIG Dunkelgrau and paint up his trousers. Once that's complete, we'll take some field gray and block in the basic color of his tunic. If you overpaint onto some of the details like his straps and suspenders, don't worry about it. We can come back and paint in all that fine detail work later. This particular figure is a Wehrmacht NCO, so he's got a field cap on. This is going to be the same field gray as his tunic. If your figure is wearing a German helmet without any camouflage coverings though, a good color for that is German camo dark green. To finish up his cap, we're going to use some of that Luftwaffe camo dark green I just mentioned to detail in a very fine line along the bottom edges of the cap. And while we've got that out, we're also going to paint the collar of his tunic for a little contrast there. Moving down to his packs and gear, we're going to use some flat black to paint in his Y-strap or the uniform suspenders. Next, we're going to take some green-gray and paint in the rest of the webbing, all the straps that are holding up his gear. If you make any mistakes here, no worries, just grab your uniform color again and do a little tidying up. This is delicate work, so just take your time and use a nice fine brush. Next, we're going to take some tan earth and paint in his ammo pouch. Since he's an NCO and has the MP40, he's got the spare mag pouch on his hip here. Note, if your figure is armed with a Kar 98 or a Gewehr, the ammo pouches for those look great in just flat black or a deep brown. We'll also use this tan color for his bread bag. That's the big sack he's carrying on the back of his hip for personal items and general storage. Chocolate brown works really well for the main portion of his canteen and provides a nice contrast from all these greens and grays. Next up is German field gray. We're going to use this for his mess kit and the top of his canteen. A bit of an artistic choice here, but I like to use Vallejo white aluminum for the gas mask canister. This would probably be field gray as well, but once we weather up the aluminum later, these look great in this color. Now I did a little detail work here off camera. We're just going to use our flat black to paint in these very fine straps on the mess kit and canteen. For the MP40 strap, I like to use red leather because it provides a nice contrast and I think it weathers really well, but this could also be khaki if you like. Our binoculars and the MP40 itself are flat black, so if you overpaint it onto those at any point, you can just go clean that up. If not, that primer layer works just fine. Next, we're going to grab our white aluminum again and carefully paint in all of our buckles and buttons. This really helps pop those super fine details, and while they look pretty stark right now, once we weather up the figure, they're going to be knocked down a bit. And while we have that aluminum out, we're also going to do some dry brushing on our MP40, the binoculars, and some of his gear to help accentuate the molding there and make everything look a little more field worn. With the basic painting complete, we're going to want to spray our figure with a coat of gloss varnish to seal in all of our work and prep the figure for decals. Now, I'm using a figure from Tamiya's mid-war infantry set, which comes with this nice assortment of rank and insignia patches. If you don't have decals for your figure, that's okay, but if you do, just be sure to apply a little micro set to the area of application to help the decal conform to the figure mold. A few coats of microsol are also helpful to help the decals settle in properly. Once the decals are dry, you can spray the figure with yet another coat of gloss varnish. If you didn't apply decals, then you can just skip this part. That first coat will get the job done. To weather, we're going to do a nice pin wash using some ammo enamel dark wash. Don't worry about going heavy here because we're going to clean up all of our excess with some enamel thinner. We can use this to help the wash settle into all of our nooks and crannies on the sculpt and remove wash from the highest raised areas of the figure where we don't want any artificial shadows. Once you're happy with how the wash is settled, just let that dry completely and then spray the figure with a coat of matte varnish to protect all of our hard work and knock down any of that excess shininess. And just like that, my friends, you've got yourself a Wehrmacht infantry figure. If you'd like to pick up this lovely little set from Tamiya, I'll add a link to it in the description below. It's one of my personal favorites and is a great value play if you're looking to build up your 135 scale figure army. As I mentioned before, if you'd like to work on your scale model face painting work, I'll link to my tutorial on that right here. And until next time, my friends, be well, happy building, cheers.